It's cool with me. Broski. Home
Whatever.
slice.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
You wish you had the
You're
lingo
really
I did. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. I gotta like I gotta like the white person chants, like shucks buster, what else do white people say? Can I get mayo on my burger?
That's awful. But you're right.
I'm a big fan of white bread. That just actually sucks. Like that's just not funny. I'm sorry. I'm a little out of it.
It's okay. I'm out of it too, man. I'm tired.
We need to get in it because we're getting ready to talk for like an hour.
We are. All right, locking in.
Locking in, initiating lock-on procedures. Turning on funny mode.
Stupid.
I was like, what the hell is he doing? It's like, oh, he's hitting his headset.
I was calibrating. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Music Box, a show where I, Bimler, enjoyer of music, show an album to my friend, Pyrine.
Oh yeah, that's me, Pioneer. They let me out of my enclosure recently, and it's been pretty nice. I've been getting to eat all sorts of like canned food. They've been giving that to me, so it's been pretty cool. Hi.
And after listening to it for a week, we meet up and discuss. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Radiohead's Kid A. Very commonly known as it's been memed at this point, the greatest left turn in music history. Their fourth album, the third one of theirs we're talking about, very much doubling down on the electronic influences of OK Computer by basically just going entirely electronic. This album is ambient. This album is IDM. This album is spacious and it's quite good. I don't really know what else to say about it to introduce it.
It's quite good.
Look,
it's quite good. We can agree on that.
It is quite good. You want to say some more?
Well, I don't know. You really said it all right there. I don't know. I think we might just be done with the episode.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys. I mean, I will say one thing. This is our third Radiohead episode. This is the third one we've done. I have been consistently and happily surprised by each Radiohead album we've done because they keep getting better, and I have been enjoying them more and more, and this is no exception, because I really, really, really liked this album. In fact, I would dare say, I would go as far to say I love this album, in that it's good. Right off the bat, I'll be honest, it's going to get some high points from me, because I really like a lot of the things that this album does. That being said, there are some things to talk about that I think might be a little bit better, might be a little better. I can have opinions. Not everything is perfect in my eyes, unless it's me, but, that's neither here nor there. But I really like this album. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, no, I like this album a lot as well. Wow, we're really verbose today. I want to talk about, though, I do want to mention something really quick, and I feel like our opinions may differ here. It's kind of in terms of what you've heard so far. What's considered to be the big three of Radiohead's catalog are OK Computer, Kid A, and In Rainbows. And what you'll realize by the end of this video, which I'm going to spoil now, is that Kid A is not in my top 3 from Radiohead. It is my number 4. I think there is another record better than it with the echelons of OK Computer and In Rainbows, which I absolutely adore. I do slightly prefer OK Computer to this record, and I'm going to get into why as we talk about it. But I don't blame anybody for preferring this. I think it's sonically a lot more exciting. Its writing is a lot more interesting at times, and its highs are higher, just straight up. Some of my favorite Radiohead songs come off of this thing, even more so than OK Computer. In fact, I'd say 2 or 3 songs off of this record triumph over my favorite OK Computer song, which says a lot.
Well,
to me,
honestly, I don't know if I agree with that, because here's the thing about this album, in my opinion. I think compared to OK Computer, it is tons more consistent in its quality for me in the way I enjoy it, where OK Computer is a lot more, this song is just good, this song is whatever. Like, I think when it comes to the songs I liked in OK Computer, I might have liked them more than like my average for the album, or even some of the songs I really liked from Kid A. But I think Kid A to me had a lot better just overall experience, and it felt like as an idea for an album, like as a concept, to me, I think it was a lot more like synthesized. A lot, the parts really went together more, in my opinion. Like there was a very consistent theme. There was composition that was stuck between, like that was carried between a lot of the musical tracks to make it all like one cohesive thing. Where it's like the songs can have, you know, differences between them and they can kind of do different things, but you can all still tell it's all part of the same album. It's all contributing the same message. I felt like that was present in OK Computer, but not to the same extent and not to the same enjoyment as I found it in Kid A.
I don't know. See, like when I think of kind of bouncing back on that, I feel like Kid A is a lot more varied in its, like, honestly, in its sounds, which a lot of people might consider a plus. And to me, like, generally I do, but I do think it does fall a little inconsistent. I think some tracks are significantly stronger than others, whereas OK Computer, you can make a case, for, in my opinion, for nearly any song on that record being a highlight. Like, it's just that dense. Not to say Kid A is bad. I at least like every song on Kid A. There's not a single song that I think is just
we have said our overall opinion about this piece of music is that it's good.
Yes. To reiterate, it's good.
It's good.
But like, for example, I'm just gonna pick a random favorite. Idiotech is in my top 3 on the record. I adore that song. I think it's really great. But that song, in my opinion, is several pegs up from a song like Morning Bell, which I think is just pretty good. But OK Computer doesn't really have a discrepancy like that. I feel like its songs are a bit more consistently great. Like, on that record, I think Lucky is probably my least favorite, but I still, like, that song is such a vibe. I love the chorus. It can soar when it wants to. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But,
we might just have like opposite opinions on this then. If that's the case, we might just be straight up like square and circle here. Because I just feel the entire experience of Kid A, to me, is just more cohesive and enjoyable. But there were highlights in OK Computer that I preferred more. I think like in terms of the structure of the album though, and the way it's kind of composed, probably the strongest part of Kid A to me, and the one that I latched onto the most, was probably the instrumentation they did. I think the instrumentation in this album is pretty much as close to perfect as Radiohead has gotten so far, and almost as perfect in my opinion. I think it's all great. The backing track and the instrumentation, like that composition with it, I think is amazing. Like, legitimately, it is... I was kind of floored by it to begin with, because I was like... Is Radiohead even... They're capable of doing this? Why don't they do this every time?
No, okay, here's the thing, though. I will back you up on this opinion, because I do think, at least at times, it is true, and Kid A is definitely a turning point for Radiohead in terms of, like, their sound. And that's why they call it the greatest left turn in music history, but, like, you can separate Radiohead into 2 distinct eras. The pre-Kid A era and the Kid A onward era. Like, their first 3 albums are kind of like their own thing, and then everything after Kid A, something changed. There's something very different about all of them. And Kid A... mutation. Yeah, and Kid A was like the genesis of that, and I think it does it very well, especially with how much of a contrast it is from OK Computer, but I kind of want to talk less about OK Computer and talk a little bit more about the record we're reviewing today.
Tom York took this album, there he's like, all right, I'm gonna go write this. He went into like a closet, came out like a week later, he was completely sweaty, his hair was messed up, his face was like completely red back under his eyes. I made something. And then it's history.
It's like the tape has like cobwebs on it somehow. It's like glowing. And it's a tape. It's on a cassette. And they're like, what? What is this?
You went in there with a CD, dude.
Dark magicked it. No. But like, it's immediately apparent, like, from the first notes of the opening track, Everything in Its Right Place, like, that song, more than any... Like, the moment you first hear it, you're like, oh, okay, we're doing something really different now from OK Computer. Like, no guitars, no drums on this track either, just synth and Tom's distorted voice. And it is cold, and it is metallic, and it is eerie, and it sets the mood perfectly. I used to give that song a lot of shit for being overrated, but I kind of understand why people love it. It's just like the perfect opener for this record.
I mean, It's even more than that. I honestly think like the first 3 tracks is just like I want to say pretty much is a 10 out of 10 opener for me. I think while they do like vary, especially between Kid A, like the title track and National Anthem, to me it's almost like that almost might be my favorite part of the album. Like it is such a strong opener that kind of just slowly sinks you into what the hell the album is doing and slowly like layering on the vibes onto you without it not being way too overwhelming as like Tom comes in with his vocals and the synth slowly grows louder and they start adding more like beep boop beep boop and they keep doing that with Kid A, but they kind of change it up a little bit. Then they hit you with National Anthem and then you're like, holy shit, I kind of get what they're doing because it's like the first 2 songs are almost like a primer, then National Anthem is the actual start of the album. I just love it. I honestly adore the start of the album.
I don't think I've heard that perspective before. I disagree, but that's really interesting. Like, I think Everything in Its Right Place is the opener of the record. I think like, well, I mean, like, duh, objectively, but I mean, like, I feel like it also starts it off properly. In fact, I think the National Anthem, just gonna rip the Band-Aid off, probably my least favorite track on the record. Which I feel like we will very disagree with, because I know you really like the National Anthem. But to me, at that point, I'm kind of just waiting for Tom to come back. like actually, because he doesn't really do a whole lot on Kid A, like the title track, or the National Anthem, and the lyrics are pretty sparse and vague. They're good, but like I want something more. For me, the album really kicks off quality-wise at How to Disappear Completely, which, again, ripping the Band-Aid off, that's my favorite song on the record. I told you that when we listened to it. But I absolutely adore How to Disappear Completely. I think it's one of Radiohead's like top 5 best songs. It is harrowing. It is gorgeous. Johnny Greenwood's on the strings, and he is kicking ass. But yeah, I think the first 3 songs to wrap that point up are you're right in that they're a primer. I think all first 3 kind of are. That they're like, I feel like I told you this when we listened to the record. I feel like you have to get through them, and if you enjoy them, you'll like the rest of the album. If you don't really get them, then you're gonna be lost going into the rest of the record. But I think it's pretty well done. I do like the opening of the record, but it's not my favorite part.
All right. We're gonna disagree some more. Right here. We're gonna have to fight after this. We're gonna have to leave the studio and then just like we're gonna record ourselves fighting to prove who's right.
We're in what is effectively my living room in this world. This is not a studio.
Yeah, the
You're
studio.
not tricking anyone.
Here's the thing. I enjoyed this record in a different way, I think, than I have the past 2 Radiohead albums because it has done something that Radiohead hasn't done for me yet, and sold me on pretty much the vibes alone.
Ooh.
I gotta admit, I didn't really pay much attention to the lyrics of this album, nor did I really want to.
Ooh.
I appreciated them, but I feel like, to me, and I was doing this during note-taking, it kind of took away a bit of my enjoyment. Because I found more enjoyment in the way I interpreted this album and kind of read it through my own way, rather than kind of seeing the story that was intentionally being put together. I don't know if that's me being music delusional, or if that's just the way I was viewing it, but to me, that's kind of why I was sold so hard in the album, like, instrumentally, because they sold the vibe so hard. And I want to make clear, Tom York also did an amazing job. Like, we said this before, he's always doing good. I feel like it's just going to be a moot point. Tom York always is doing good unless we specifically say otherwise. He's selling it. But I don't know. I was kind of in the mood for something different with Kid A anyway. I didn't really want something to be the same as like OK Computer. I wanted like a change. And to me, it was the right direction. I think it almost like tells an overarching story. The way I kind of imagine it is the album almost tells the story of a concert that Radiohead is doing, like a single night in a concert where each song is simply a time like during that. And I'll explain this basically. I like to imagine that Everything in the Right Place is basically the band actually arriving. Like they're on the road, they're going towards whatever place they're going to perform at, whatever venue. Like they're absorbing the environment, they're absorbing like fans outside the theater or whatever like that. They're absorbing the vibes at the moment. They're kind of saying, all right, okay, this is the audience we're going for. This is kind of like the world being built around us. Then it goes into Kid A, which is almost like them in the prep room. They're getting ready, they're getting everything together, they're like slowly getting their act together, and you can kind of hear that in the music as things are picking up. The instrumentation is becoming a little more defined. Tom's getting a bit more on it with like his vocal performance. The lyrics are becoming a lot more like stand out. They're being more defined themselves as they're kind of like actually practicing. The national anthem opens up, and that's them actually out on the stage. They're starting. That is them just playing music. And to me, I don't like Tom's performance in this song, National Anthem, musically, but I love it on its vibes because it feels a bit soulless. It feels like robotic. Like Tom is just up there on stage. I'm just singing. This is another venue. We're just going to be here for a couple more hours. We just got to make it through the night. My heart's not really in it. And you can almost kind of feel that in the music as it's just kind of going through the motions. But then you go to How to Disappear Completely, which I'll also be honest with you, is also my favorite track. You can kind of zoom in on his eyes, into his brain, and actually feel what the hell is going on behind the scenes, where it's like the whole world is going dark around him and like the band, and it's like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm under so much pressure. I'm gonna like piss myself. I don't want to be here. I just want to disappear. And it just layers it on. And I think it's probably my favorite Radiohead track yet.
Based. I mean, like, out of what we've heard so far, same.
Yes.
I mean, I have other Radiohead songs I prefer to it, but I'm talking like what I have shared with Pyrine. That is my favorite song. So I am kind of really intrigued by your interpretation of the record, because that is like not at all what it is. Like, it's not even close. It's meant to be like about kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of like dystopia. The album is named Kid A because that's what Tom York imagines the first clone would be named. There's a fun fact for you. It's kind of like...
It's a bad name. Tom needs to work on that.
The far future of what OK Computer warned us about is kind of like how I see it. I think that... But that interpretation is really interesting. But I will say, it works perfectly for How to Disappear Completely, because I told you the origin of that song, basically, is that. It is literally just... The touring for OK Computer was hell. The process of marketing it was hell. Tom York's friend in the music industry was like, hey, repeat this phrase to yourself. It'll help you calm down. And that phrase was, I'm not here. This isn't happening. And yeah, that created that song. It's perfect, basically. And
it is basically perfect.
Tom York has gone on record saying, and I told you this when we listened as well, that if he wants to be remembered for anything he's made, it's that song. And I think that really says something about its like significance. But yeah, I think that's where the quality of the record really shoots up, in my opinion.
I believe when we were first listening to it, for what I said to How to Disappear Completely, and I maintain my opinion on this, it feels like, at least so far to what I've heard, the definitive Radiohead track, where if Radiohead was to be condensed all into one single song and everything like its main ideas and what they're trying to kind of like represent, I would say it probably shines most in How to Disappear Completely. That also helps my enjoyment of the track a lot, because I feel like it's a lot more genuine. I don't know if that makes sense in my eyes. It almost feels a lot more like honest to what the band is actually trying to convey and its intentions.
Oh yeah, no. It feels very out of character on the record, as it kind of drops a lot of its aesthetics. First of all, first track featuring a guitar, and one of, I think, like two. I think the other one would be Optimistic. I don't think any other songs have one. And so that obviously sets it apart, and it's an acoustic guitar, not even an electric guitar. And then strings being prominent for their first time, really, in Radiohead's discography. Just an unmodulated vocal performance. It doesn't fit in with the themes of the record. I kind of love it for that reason. And I agree with basically everything you said. I think, great song. Good. But it doesn't really... dwell on that too much. The track after Tree Fingers is one that I'm interested to hear your opinion about, as it is like the definition of a very simple kind of interlude song. It is literally basically just a drone, but I love it. Weirdly enough, it took a long time to grow on me because there really isn't a whole lot to it, but I've gained a lot of really weird sentiment. It feels to me almost like a paused moment in time. And I've attached a lot of significant memories to that song just because I might have been listening to it at the time. And yeah, it's weirdly impactful to me, but I don't know. Maybe that's just my freak music delusion myself. What about you? What do you think of Tree Fingers, huh? Oh,
Having opinion is delusional these days. You heard it here first, folks.
well, no, because it's
I mean,
not
I don't
founded
know,
on the
honestly.
music. It's founded on like my dumb idiot brain's memories associated with the music. So it's not really the
I
music.
see. So you're delusional for having memories. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Having
that is what I'm
recordings.
saying.
All right.
Mhm.
Like, I honestly, you're hyping it up. I don't have a lot to say on Tree Fingers because I feel like when you listen to it, it kind of speaks for itself.
I mean, yeah, that's
It's
what I
one
mean.
of those tracks that is just straight up ambience. I feel like it's the case of if you try and pull meaning out of it, you're kind of breaking the mystique. To me, it's you're kind of hurting the magic kind of has. I
Yeah.
like it. I really like it. It's fun. It's very very pleasant ambience. That's all I really have to say on it.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Good to break up the front half and the back half. And I'll also be honest right now with my another one of my opinions. This is a front-loaded album. It's very front-loaded in my opinion.
I mean, I disagree, but I think that's just because I feel like it's not that the back is like maybe super better. I don't think it's backloaded either. I think it's very balanced. But I think that's just because you gas up the front end of the record probably more than I would. Like by the front end, I mean the first 3 tracks.
The first 4 tracks. Let's be real. The first 4 tracks.
But I'm saying you gas up the first 3 more than I do because we both gas up track 4 equally. Like, yeah, How to Disappear Completely is great. But by that point, I consider us in the middle of the record. Like that song, Optimistic, In Limbo, that's the middle. And then Idiotech, Morning Bell, Motion Picture Soundtrack, that's the end.
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean.
And I feel like they're all kind of similar in the sense that they have like highlights and lowlights. Like for me, I would say the highlights of the opener like section is the first 2, and then the national anthem's the low point for me. And then in the middle, How to Disappear Completely and Optimistic are the high points, and Tree Fingers just kind of by what it is the low point, but it's still pretty great. Honestly, the middle is probably my favorite part of Kid A. Just because How to Disappear Completely is great. Optimistic is... We could talk about Optimistic, because that's also kind of an out-of-character track as well. But I really quite like it. I love Tom's vocals on it. They're very fun at times. And the ending of the track is very... I kind of feel like that's like my Doctor Strange touching the butterfly flying through space moment on the record is the end of Optimistic. I think it's very cool. What do you think of that song?
We're just disagreeing on everything today because I disagree. I think Optimistic is a fine song. But it and the song after it to me didn't really speak out to me that much. They're not, in my eyes, they're not super distinctive. They don't really jump out at me. They don't really grab me with anything super like out of the blue. And I kind of have to be grasping to find anything for them. They're enjoyable. The like I said, the instrumentation is always great, but it just kind of, especially Optimistic, just kind of feels like another song, especially coming out of also Tree Fingers and How to Disappear Completely. Kind of just like it's not really. It picks up after In Limbo, and I think it kind of maintains a somewhat steady rise again. But those 2 tracks kind of are probably my like low light of the album. I would probably end up skipping those if I was listening to the full album.
See, Optimistic, I don't really get, because I feel like Optimistic's a really great vibe reset after How to Disappear Completely and Tree Fingers. That's a lot. Like, How to Disappear Completely hits you with a truckload of feels. Tree Fingers is the come down, and then Optimistic eases you back in. But I do understand In Limbo being a bit of a low point, because it was for me for the longest time. Honestly, of all things, I think the game sold me on In Limbo. Which I know means nothing to you, and we'll play the game once we finish Amnesiac. I'll show you around it at some point. But there's a weird amount of in limbo in the game, and it honestly kind of, like I said, sold me on the track. I really like it now. I think it's got some really great lyrics. The vibes are so dismal. And it's got some of the coolest mixing on the record as well. It was something I've come to appreciate, but it's not really a highlight for me either. I'm not going to pretend it is. I think it's just very solid. And yeah, I think it eases us into the end of the record. Let's return to Idiotech real quick. I mentioned that being a favorite of mine at the start of the video. And it, yeah.
I like it too. It's good.
What do you like about it?
It's a bit of like a left field. It's a bit of a left field
Yeah.
song because it immediately like it picks up the energy. It picks up like the tempo. It picks up basically everything.
It bops hard.
It bops hard. It's very fun. You're kind of cheating Radiohead when you just pick up a bop that hard after basically everything you were doing before that. Because yeah, of course I'm gonna fucking like it. you're kind of using cheat codes, but I do like it. It works. You tricked me. You put the bait in front of the stick, and I went for the carrot. But it's like, I don't know. It's just another. It's a very fun song. It has some better lyrication in it. I admit I was paying a bit more attention to Idiotech, like when I was doing the notes. Not as much in general. I want to reiterate again. I was not paying that much attention to the lyrics. I didn't really care to this time around because it didn't really grab me. But Idiotech was a bit of like an exception. I was a big fan of like mobiles squirking, mobiles chirping. That was a good line. Tom York also does a pretty good job in Idiotech, I think. He kills
it.
He shines with that kind of high
performance.
performance.
God. Yeah, this is like where he unlocked his true freak. You've seen clips of this song live, like before you've heard the song. I've showed you funny videos of it. He always gets completely freaking deranged every time they play Idiotech live. He just loses his mind. And that's reflected even in the recorded version. Like, his performance on that track is so panicked and erratic and strange, and I think that's a new kind of side of Tom that we didn't really fully get up until this point. We'll see a bit more of it on future records, especially, honestly, Hail to the Thief, which I don't know if that's a weird take or not, but it's very cool and sets the track apart, for sure. That chorus is awesome.
Oh my god. Yes.
It's so memorable. It's such an earworm. All of the points in the verses where he just like kind of breaks down, like the take the money and run bit is a highlight of mine, where he just kind of keeps repeating that until it just cuts into the chorus. It feels so like, it feels like the song's kind of tossing him around. It's like I picture him. The song is like a box room. He's inside it, and the room is spinning around really fast, and he's kind of being tumbled around in the room. This is a really weird image, but it makes sense. I promise.
I promise I'm not crazy.
Well,
I promise,
okay,
guys.
to
just
put
have
that
this
in
image
like normal
my
people
brain.
terms, it feels like the song is almost like yanking Tom around and not letting him finish his performances or do them properly, and he's kind of being rushed by his own song, which sounds like a critique, but it's really cool, and it's not that. It's not a critique.
No, I get what you mean. He has a lot of stuff. Like, I just think it's really nice when Tom's actually being yanked around and controlled by the music. I feel like almost it is better, because this isn't the only song I think he does that kind of stuff in. Like, the way you describe it probably is, but I feel like a lot of music like that, Tom sings in, a lot of times it can almost control him and the way he's working around it, making him work with almost like a sort of boxed in like parameter. And I think it really helps his own performance, because he kind of has to make it work in a really, really, I don't know, tight space, but audibly, audio-wise. Sound, music.
Audioly.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Sonically. Maybe. But yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, and then Morning Bell is the low point on me for the end of the record. It's my other, like, besides the national anthem, it's my least favorite, but it's not bad. It's just I feel like it gets a little repetitive. It drones on a little bit. It doesn't really do a whole lot totally different from anything previously. And it's very low key, which doesn't really help. It does have some cool lyrics though. The cut the kids in half part is really cool. The Sleepy Jack the Fire Drill, round and round and round and round and round, and it kind of like flies a little bit. That's really cool. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about Morning Bell. It's just okay.
There's not really a whole lot to say either, because I do like Morning Bell, but I'm not like I'm not gonna be Morning Bell's biggest defender. I'm not gonna be sitting there with like a fucking sword and shield and defending it from the haters. It's a good song. I don't mind it. Not like I don't feel super strongly about it, and I do kind of agree it is a bit of a drop off between the two songs it's between, but it's fine. I have no strong feelings on it.
I mean, to be fair, it's kind of hard to not be a drop-off when the two songs you're in between are Idiotech and Motion Picture Soundtrack. Like, you're kind of screwed either way. Speaking of which, I showed you Motion Picture Soundtrack a long time before we listened to Kid A. Before we even listened to any records together. Like, before we even had the idea of the music box, I showed you Motion Picture Soundtrack, and you loved it.
It was months ago. It was back in September of 24, if I remember my dates correct.
Sus.
You just passed.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was kind of cheating on that one too, because I listened to it before, and I thought it was really, really good. It was a bit of a tough thing to put like this, like a lot of the songs into a first place, second place, third place, whatever, choosing my favorite. Because Motion Picture Soundtrack might have made it, but that's only because I had more experience with it. I think it's amazing. I think it's a song that, even if you're not going to listen to this album at all, go listen to Motion Picture Soundtrack and just do it. It works well on its own. It is a song that can stand for itself and get across what the message is trying to give. It's pretty much like 100%.
Yep. I mean, I showed a friend a lot of Radiohead, you know who, and he didn't really not a lot of it wowed him. He didn't really care for any of it. With the strong exception of Motion Picture Soundtrack, like I feel like anybody can get behind that song. And that doesn't mean to say it's like vanilla or like I'm trying to think of the word. It's not boring. It's not like marketable. It's still a very interesting song, and it's very different. It's very out there. But it's just kind of objectively beautiful and very memorable. It's very brief in its lyrics, but draws them out, makes them really stick with you. It's very emotionally powerful. Like you said, it kind of stands on its own, but it also operates as a fantastic cinematic closer for Kid A. And I don't blame anybody for this one being their favorite. Either song on Kid A or closer from Radiohead, it's second place on both rights for me. Like I said, I think How to Disappear Completely is better. And I do think that In Rainbows' closer is stronger than Motion Picture Soundtrack, but it is damn close. And this song is still like top 10 Radiohead songs for me. It's fantastic.
It brings back that idea to me. Like, I think people can have a lot of varied opinions about music because what you like is very dependent on your taste and like your experience and stuff like that. But there's also some things that I just think most people can generally enjoy when it comes to music, like when it's done. In Motion Picture Soundtrack, I think just hits a perfect like margin where even if you don't like Tom's performance, or even if you don't like the instrumentation, or you don't like the pacing, or whatever, there is something in it that you can find that is really, really good that you can latch onto. And God, if you can like all of it, then that is a howler to you. And I think it deserves credit. I think it deserves credit for that, in my opinion. It's weird because it's not even the most popular track on the album. I think right now it's let me read. Looks like it's the fourth most popular.
Yeah. Well, what is the most popular? Don't tell me. It's Everything in Its Right Place. What am I talking about? That's the most popular song.
No, it's, you're right. You are right. I was about to say no, but you are right.
I'm always right. Fuck you thought.
Yeah, I guess I should. Stupid.
No.
Boy, I get out my big wooden mallet and I hit myself on the head again. Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, no, but I feel like Kid A can kind of be described like that. I feel like you have to be a real hater to dislike Kid A. Because it's so interesting and strange that I feel like everybody can get something from it. Not everybody's going to love it, but the only reason I can see somebody disliking it if they're like, it's artsy fartsy, it's pretentious, I don't, it's weird, it's gross. which is like, okay, like lame, but all right. But if you have an interesting bone in your body, if you like fun, if you if you have wonder, light
you
behind
like
your
fun.
eyes, you will find something in Kid A, even if it's not the whole record.
If you are sentient,
Yeah.
you'll enjoy this.
If you're not
album.
an NPC, you will find something in this record.
NPC being people that we don't like and talk to.
Yes, exactly. People who I deem have zero personality. But to stop
who I
roasting,
have no worth in my new world that I'll be creating.
but to stop roasting people I don't know, I'm gonna wrap things up by saying Kid A
Never did
is
that.
phenomenal. I've been saying this the whole time. We've established it's good. Me personally, like I said, it's number 4 on the old Radiohead meter for me. But that's a very high compliment, as Radiohead just has a really dense catalog. Great shit. I would give this record a 93. I quite enjoy it.
A 90. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I will reiterate my points that I was going to that I talked about. I'm sorry, I'm bad at talking today.
It's fine. We're tired.
I think you and me have like a fundamentally different reason to kind of enjoy the majority of the album, and we enjoy different things about it and just see it in a different way. You know what? That's fine. You know, we can disagree. We can be polite about this. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Radiohead to get over this, because this would have been an all-time favorite album had it had lyrics that gripped me. Had it gripped me with the actual lyrics, then I would have been on the floor. Like I would be melted into a puddle. But the lyrics were just kind of like, it's good. So that to me makes it really, really good. Not quite up there with the all-timers, but it gets it at a solid 95 for me.
Damn. Wow. I mean, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah. But I think
I hope it can top this, because the bar's really high. Be afraid, Tom York.
I mean, I personally think they've got 2 shots at it left. But we'll see.
All right. We'll see.
Next time we do Radiohead, we're going to be listening to the kind of brother-sister record of Kid A, Amnesiac. But that's not for another 2 weeks, as we do alternating Radiohead every other episode. Next episode, we're going to be listening to this album, which I guess isn't terribly different, but it's one I've been kind of like addicted to for a while. I love this artist. I just finished listening through their whole discography over the past like 5-6 months, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on them. But yeah, that's all from us. Listen to Kid A if you have already. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you around next week. Bye. See ya. What?